Okay, Holy Cross vote is in. We have 31 in support of the call, one that does not support, and one abstains. So thank you, Holy Cross.
And Christ the Good Shepherd also approved that motion with an 80%, 66% was required, 2/3, and we approved it with 80%. So the motion has been approved.
The numbers?
I do have numbers. Actually, I don't have numbers because I gave them to Okay, we had 36 votes, 29 for, 7 against, and 0 abstentions.
Okay. Are there any questions, comments? If not, we'll move into the second portion, which is the compensation package. Lorraine Odell, who was on that team, is going to go through that. And I'd like that team to stand up, if you would, please, that worked on the team. This is the team that worked with Sena to come to an agreement. They worked on covenant between the two churches, and they put the rest of the meeting that we're going to be talking about together. So if you were on that team, please stand up. I want you give them a round of applause because they worked hard. Okay, call for a motion on the compensation package.
I move that we accept the compensation package as summarized in the covenant.
Okay, second? Okay, as soon as we get the seed from Christ the Good Shepherd, we'll open for discussion and explanation.
I move to accept the compensation package as presented during this meeting for Christ the Good Shepherd Lutheran Church.
I second. Okay, that was seconded by Wendy Smith.
Okay, turn it over to Lorraine.
All right, and I thought we might just run through it real quick instead of just voting on it, unless everybody wants to vote. I want to say it was an interesting process because the Senate is very nice to us. They present kind of an outline of what a compensation package should look like, so we're not starting at zero. They give us some options, we get to tweak it. And usually the negotiation is between your candidate and the church. In this case, it was a three-way negotiation because we had two churches and a candidate, which had some interesting quirks to it, but we did come to an agreement. And it is, I'm going to say up front, it is in line with the Synod expectations. It's very similar to ones Holy Cross has offered all of our pastors. I think probably the same for Christ the Good Shepherd. So there shouldn't be any surprises here, but I wanted to run through it real quick. It's on page 2 of the covenant. It's actually embodied in it. The first part was because the call is coming from Holy Cross will do the payroll and pay all the taxes and do all the work, and then Christ the Good Shepherd will pay half of that to Holy Cross. So everybody is paying exactly half. The second part on the salary housing, the salary is at $70,000 per year. We took into account the Synod recommendations and the extensive history of Vicar Sena. The second 2 points on that are actually kind of tax issues, some quirks of the tax law regarding what pastors can get. They get to allow, if you don't have a parsonage, they can designate part of their salary to housing. We will be doing that, but that plus the base salary will equal $70,000. Gives some good tax benefits. The third one is the FICA contribution. It looks like a lot paid to the pastor. And I can go into this with you later, but as a church, we can either pay it to the pastor who pays it to the IRS. Actually, we don't get a choice. If you are an employee, we pay it directly to the IRS. Because the pastor, for this purposes of self-employed, we pay it to the pastor who pays it to the IRS. So it's not a bonus to the pastor, it's a tax we would pay one way or another. So it looks like it's an addition to her salary, it really isn't. As far as benefits go, we're paying for insurance for the family. And the amount we've chosen is one we've given, Holy Cross has given all of our pastors through Portico. We didn't go with the best plan, we didn't go with the worst plan.
It's the same plan as Christ has used for us.
It's the same plan that Christ has issued for their pastors. We're also giving 20% of the compensation towards their retirement through Portico. We've done the same for all of our pastors. 12. There's a 2 in there. Thank you. 12%. I'd like 20. Okay. I've got to have people. I'm a little nervous. And then we will pick up the employee portion of the Oregon paid leave assessment. It's like $38 a month, but it makes it easier for them. And then our next part of that is reimbursements, mileage. We always pay mileage reimbursement. We went back and forth, we pay the IRS rate. Time off, we're giving her 3 weeks vacation for the remainder of 2023, 4 weeks per year after that. And I think the rest of it is basic time off information you can read. And then the last section is basic. She'll have an office in each location. We will supply the office, give her a desk, a place to sit. We'll budget for books and we'll budget for continuing education, which that amount has not changed in at least 10 years. It's always been in our budget. That was a Senate recommendation and they haven't changed it in 10 years. So for total numbers, because people are interested in total numbers, actually her base salary comes out to just under...
Salary plus benefits, right?
Yeah, go there. Her salary plus benefits totals $4,500 approximately per congregation. That sounds like a lot, but remember benefits is going to be a third of that total. I don't know if anyone's priced medical lately, but insurance is expensive. So the total is $4,571 per congregation. Her salary itself is only $3,000 per month. Benefits are $1,400 per congregation, and then we have employer taxes. And I put in the FICA and the employer taxes at $225 a month. So if anyone has specific questions, concerns, too many numbers, not enough numbers.
While you're thinking about that, I have a bookkeeping item here. We missed who seconded this motion for Holy Cross. Who was the second? It was Gabe. No, we got right there. Thank you.
I'm not starting over.
Okay, any questions for Lorraine or for us? Comments? The ballots should be at your table. If not, raise your hand, we'll get you one. Okay.
And then her daughter stayed what they usually went out as an Airbnb. That ends June 1st. So her daughter got a place to stay. So I'm going to go help her clean and everything. And then we're going to clean her car and lock the trailer to go on her property.
Okay, while we're waiting here, Jay and I attended Senate Assembly yesterday. This year was online assembly rather than meeting in person. Last year at the in-person assembly, the Senate voted to only hold in-person assemblies once every 3 years, and the other 2 years would be online. They did this for several reasons. One was cost, of course. They cost far less to set up the technology and zoom into your home than it does to get everybody together. Everybody voted. Any ballots still on the table? Thank you. second reason that they are doing this online is that they get better representation. Because folks from the corners of Oregon have a hard time getting to the Senate sometimes, and it's an extra day's travel for them, where this way they just zoom right into their home. They also found out that they have better age distribution when they do this, because people who would sometimes have a hard time getting to an in-person assembly can do it in their home. People who are maybe caregivers or who don't drive still have that opportunity to attend. It was a much shorter meeting this year than last year because we didn't have any of those big resolutions that we had to vote on. If you remember, or for those of you who did get a report for last year, we voted on the gun resolution, whether or not to support it. We voted on reparations to restore Indian lands in Oregon. We voted on reckoning with racism, and they have formed cohorts that will work on all of the different issues that the Senate supports. We had two people that attended their cohort on reckoning with racism. One of them was Andrew, and then Brian went part-time as well. So they're trying to find ways at the Senate level to get out into the congregations and meet the needs of their communities, meet the issues that we're dealing with in our own congregations. And so the cohorts can be formed around any particular issue. If you have an issue that you think your congregation would like to support and would like to work with other congregations on that issue, contact the Senate. There's a Senate webpage. It's OregonSenate.org, I believe. And they have all kinds of information there that could be very valuable to you on cohorts, on grants that they give out, the things that they support. So it's a wealth of information as Pastor can speak to. I know he uses it regularly. I'm on it quite often. Brian is on it fairly regularly. So check it out. Okay, they're counting.
Is he still in Salem? Yes. I would just go with him for a while.
This morning in church, when Pastor said to sing boldly and at good pace, it reminded me of when I was a little kid, and my dad was a pastor, and before church started, we used to tell him, okay, Dad, today, preach fast and pray fast. Because we wanted to be, like we wanted to go play. And so then when my sister started playing organ, and my dad was preaching and she was the organist, they could whip through a service in no time flat, and you better be able to sing fast, because they were off and running, the two of them.
Okay. My homiletics professor in seminary gave us 3 rules. He said, be brilliant, be brief, and be gone.
Did you take that to heart?
Sometimes.
Any questions or comments on the compensation package? I think you have the covenants on your table, so you can be looking through there and be ready for any questions on that as well. Oh, there's one thing that I wanted to tell you about that. There is one more meeting that will follow this meeting right away in this same space. Christ the Good Shepherd is meeting today to consider the changes in their constitution. So at the end of our next vote, we are not going to pick up tables and chairs and shove them all into the closet as we usually do. We're going to go have coffee or go to your lunch or whatever and turn the gym over to Christ the Good Shepherd for their meeting. Holy Cross ballots are in, and we have supported the compensation package with the majority of the votes.
And Christ the Good Shepherd approved the compensation packet as presented by a majority of votes. So, those two things are done. Now on to the third. This is an agreement that we make between our two congregations and Vicar Sena. So it is the covenant. Included in the covenant is the compensation packet we just voted on, but the covenant also says some important things. Beginning June 1st, 2023, going through May 31st, 2025, both congregations commit to participating in the discernment transformation process, which we approved at an earlier meeting. And it's on the last page if you've forgotten what we did at that earlier meeting. It goes through all the things that we're going to do together to discover our ministry together, how we move forward. So those things are incorporated into this call. We would be sharing our transformation discernment pastor, Sena Norton, supporting her to form a transformation team to partner with her to design and facilitate the process and to recommend increasingly shared ministry throughout the process. The following are agreements. For worship, we will continue to have 10 o'clock worship, a joint Sunday service every week. That will actually start in July because, Brian, you have the June schedule that you can give us in a minute, right? So June will be a little bit different, but starting in July, we would be alternating Sundays, 1 week at Holy Cross, 1 week at Christ the Good Shepherd, back and forth, back and forth. So we'll be worshiping together on a weekly basis. We'll have monthly joint congregational council meetings, and the following committees
I didn't agree to bring.
would be shared committees. And I've got the old one that doesn't have it.
Oh, over here. Go.
I don't know why, but Faith in Action does not stay in my brain. It should, because it's a wonderful name for a committee. But Faith in Action, our committee at Christ the Good Shepherd is outreach. So those committees have been meeting sometimes together and sometimes separately, depending on what they have going on. And that will continue as we work to find other venues that we can share in ministry. Altar Guild, Tuesday crew, worship and music, all of those will begin trying to do some things together as well as what they do independently at their churches. Well, you're right. So this is not an exhaustive list. We could add to it. Activities beyond worship would be the combined Bible study and adult forum, prayer shawls, fellowship would be in there, but it's not there, so we'll just have to add that in, or somebody could vote to make an amendment to this to add it. Also, the pastor, we would have a joint mutual ministry team and provide office space and supplies at both facilities, and each congregation would manage their own budget and facilities.
just a little addition to Karen's question. These are places we are starting from. Most of the moving forward part will be done in conjunction with Pastor Sena as we move through the next 2 years. So I'm sure we'll find lots of other things that we're going to do. The other thing is, it says on there that we're going to be forming a ministry support team. That team will be with Vicar Sena, well, as soon as he's ordained now, Pastor Sena, that we will do that with her consent and her guidance when she needs it. We're going to set that up now.
Is there a question on the floor?
No? Can I call for the question?
No, we need a motion.
We need a motion.
A lot of ballots have been
We
distributed,
didn't-
but there's nothing to vote on.
Oh, okay, we don't have a motion yet. So I need a motion from Holy Cross as a second for the covenant.
I move that.
Gary moved, Gary Bachstad,
And I second.
and Brian second. Thank you, Gary. Gary and Brian.
Okay, do we have a motion from Christ the Good Shepherd? Gwen? Gwen moves that we approve this covenant. Do I have a second from Christ the Good Shepherd?
Second.
Second from Heidi Dupuy.
In case you haven't noticed, Brian is our parliamentarian.
Thank you, Brian.
I wasn't excited for it. I had no question. She would come through anyway. I had a hard time, and I wasn't trying. I felt tension, for sure. And I'm going to say that it wasn't us. I don't know, it's just weird. I think it's like
I forgot that Vicar Sena is going to be returning for a little celebration here, so don't be too quick to rush out because she is coming back as soon as we conclude this meeting.
So Christ the Good Shepherd people, we are going to need to vote on our constitutional updates and bylaws updates. So I'm going to suggest that we, as soon as this meeting is adjourned, we scoot on into the chancel, we'll do our meeting there, and then come back to join the celebration.
yeah.
Has everybody turned their ballots in? Okay.
Yeah. I know, I agree. And we're doing it together. We are not on.
I'm going to talk now. As you heard at service today, neither church is here nor on State Street next week for service. Where is service at? Anyone?
St. Mark's.
St. Mark's, you guys did this, and that's awesome. St. Mark's, we're doing a joint service down at Marion and Winter Street. Come early for a great parking spot, come late if you want, but can't guarantee parking. 10 o'clock, yes, great question. 10 o'clock. For those of you interested in singing an anthem along with their choir, they are having a rehearsal on Thursday evening at 7 and again Sunday morning at 9:15. It is Veni Sanctus Spiritus, I think is the song. They're welcoming anyone from either of our churches. That's one. Then, 2 weeks from today is June the 4th. We are all back here. There's two things we're commemorating. We from Holy Cross are saying goodbye to our longtime pianist and vocal choir director, Sheila Clausen, as her and Daniel moved to Iowa. But we're also honoring this gentleman over here in a white head. 50 years of ordination. So we will be here presiding and preaching on Sunday, June 4th. Then, the last 3 Sundays in June are all at Christ the Good Shepherd. There are various events scheduled on those days. I can't remember, I know Father's Day is the 18th, there's a special program is planned, and I know the 25th is when you guys are having your second half of your annual meeting. So we'll all be over at Christ Good Shepherd the last 3 weeks of June. That's why Heidi was mentioning we're not starting the revolving rotation until July.
And it's going to be hot, and they have air conditioning.
And those summer rotations are subject to change based on because I like air conditioning. Any questions over the next 3 Sundays? Okay, that was my song and dance. Much quicker than yours.
Well, have you changed your mind yet?
So as we're waiting for our results, the covenant vote results to come back in, we can tell you some next steps that will happen from the Synod.
The step that starts right after this meeting is that Carolyn, myself, Heidi, and Chuck will be signing the papers for Senate representative for the call itself. So.
And then within the next few days, we'll be signing the compensation packet. Those things get sent back to the Synod, and then the bishop needs to sign them, and then the candidate has 30 days to respond. So we're assuming that she'll respond affirmatively.